Hi, thank you for watching. This video is designed for anyone looking to help with writing for a judge at one of our SEV competitions, or existing writers looking to keep their knowledge up to date. If you haven't written before, don't worry, we've all been there. It really is pretty easy to pick up as you go along, and the judges really aren't as scary as they appear. They can have slightly varying ways of doing things though, so they will usually speak you through things beforehand to make sure that everything's clear, and if in doubt, do just ask them. This video goes into a bit of depth regarding score sheets and writing, so don't panic if you don't understand all of it. A bit of prior knowledge is helpful though to familiarise yourself with the score sheets and ensure that all of the correct areas are filled in, particularly as some of our judges are foreign and score sheets do vary between countries. It is also worth noting that while we are currently in discussions to make score sheets the same across the UK, they may differ in appearance if you write in England, and the format for CVIs is slightly different with FEI score sheets in use. However, they will all look largely similar. Let's start with the basics then. Here is a diagram of your typical 4-judge competition arena. Judge A is always positioned opposite the entrance, as this is the judge to whom vaulters will bow to when running in and out of the arena. Judge A is the horse judge for all rounds, and is responsible for judging the horse's way of going and vaultability, the lunger, and entry to the arena, including the run-in, salute and trot round. In the compulsory round, all other judges are responsible for scoring the exercises. In the freestyle round, judges B and D score technique, and Judge C looks at the artistic element. Now, let's look at our first score sheet. All score sheets have identifying details at the top, including the class name, the name and date of the competition, the names of the vaulter, the horse, the lunger and the vaulting group, the test type, the arena, the judge, and the vaulter's individual number. On each judge's table you will find a running order for the day. Your judge will often check the score sheets prior to a class beginning to make sure that they're in the correct order and the details match against the running order. However, as the writer, it's also important to make sure that this has been done and that your score sheets are in the correct order, as vaulters can come in thick and fast, particularly in the compulsory classes. All vaulters should be wearing their number on either an arm or a leg, usually the outside one. But please check this against the score sheet to ensure that you have the correct vaulter. This is particularly important in walk classes, as very young vaulters are more prone to getting confused and going on the horse in the wrong order. The most important thing with any score sheet is to make sure that all highlighted areas are filled in, with the exception of the deductions box, which will only be required if a deduction is made. Don't panic about all of the writing on this particular score sheet. This is a reminder to the judges what each term is referring to, and some of them like to use it as a guide throughout the class if they need to. So this is a Judge A horse score sheet, and it looks the same for both compulsory and freestyle classes, and it's consistent across all levels. As you can see, there are highlighted boxes to fill in for the quality of the canter, vault ability and lunging score. Your judge will tell you which order they want you to fill in the boxes. They will then call out numbers whilst watching the performance for you to insert in the order specified. In my experience, most of them usually work through the first row of boxes in order, then the second row in order, and finish with a lunger score after watching the final salute. But if in any doubt, do ask them. The judge will specify if a deduction is to be written. And finally, on all sheets, please do ensure that the judge has signed and printed their name prior to handing it over to the score collectors. The judge may occasionally give some remarks, which can be put in this box. The score room will work out the overall score from the marks you have written. And just remember, with any score sheet, to please ensure that your writing is clear. If you make a mistake, it's okay. Just ensure that the correct number or letter is very clear for the score room. In the compulsory round, judges B, C and D will all be marking the exercises. In individual classes, the score sheet will look like this. Depending on the class, there will be different types and numbers of moves written down to match the required compulsories at that level. The judge will call out scores for each move to be filled in the respective boxes. If they wish to make any remarks, these can be noted here. Moving on to the freestyle score sheets for individual classes. Judges B and D look at technique and the scoring of each move, which will be spoken out to you in the form of letters representing the moves and numbers representing deductions from the moves, to be written out in this record box. At 2-star level and above, the degree of difficulty is given to each move via letters E for easy, M for medium, D for difficulty and R for risk, with the degree of difficulty being involved in calculating the score. At 1-star level and below, the degree of difficulty is not required. However, depending on the judge, they may still call out moves using letters, sounding something like D2, E2, R4, M3, D2, etc. Or they may say something like X2, X3, X4, X1, X4, etc. This is the personal preference of each judge, and everything should be written exactly as spoken by the judge. As the numbers refer to deductions, the judge may also give additional numbers which don't seem to be attached to a move if they wish to make additional deductions, such as for a transition. This could sound something like D2, R3, 4, M2, 2, D3, E3, etc. If the vaulter slips out of a move or falls off the horse, the judge may specify a deduction for falls to be entered here. Additionally, if a vaulter does not hold a move for the correct length of time, the element will not count. The judge will say something like E2 scratch, and this means they wish for you to write E2 and put a line through it. When calculating the scores at the end, this element is not counted, but the deduction is. The sum of deductions is calculated by adding up all of the numbers you have written down. So in this case, 48, as remember the E2 deduction is included in this. The total number of elements is calculated by adding up all of the letters you have written down, in this case 15, as the E2 does not count. This adding up process can be made easier by grouping the number of moves together, such as writing 5 in a line as shown, so that you can quickly see that there are 3 lines and therefore 15 elements. The total deduction for falls is the total number of anything written here in the falls section. If nothing written, then this can be left blank. At 2-star and 3-star level, where the difficulty of moves is also marked, your score sheet will look like this. The total number of each type of exercise must also be counted. For example, here we have 2R exercises, 4D exercises, 2M exercises, and 2E exercises. The top 10 exercises are then worked out in terms of the 10 most difficult exercises, As R moves are the most difficult, followed by D, M, and then E in that order, you begin with the top level moves. So here we only have 10 moves, so you would just fill this in the same as the other boxes. However, say we had 3 R moves, 5 D moves, 4 M moves, and 3 E moves. Our top 10 moves would be the most difficult ones, which are the 3 R, the 5 D, and 2 of the M. But if you're unsure, just ask your judge, or the score room can fill it in for you. All other parts of this score sheet are the same as the previous one. Judge C is responsible for the artistic score, and this score sheet will look the same across all levels of individual classes. Similar to the horse score sheet, there's no need to worry about all of the writing here, it's just to remind the judges what they're looking at for each section. The judge will give you a number to write down in each box, usually at the end of the routine, in order to assess all elements. As there are lots of aspects for them to consider, I have often found from personal experience that many judges will ask you to help them to keep track of the variety of exercises section during the routine. This refers to 10 different categories of moves a vaulter can perform. I have often been asked to write 1 to 10 along the top of the page and tick under the number spoken every time it is spoken. The judge will then use this at the end of the routine to see the variety and types of moves being used to help with giving a final score for this section. Again, the deduction section need only be filled in if specified. In 2-star young and 3-star senior classes, there is the additional technical test round. This is a freestyle routine with specific technical exercises incorporated. Judge A is nice and easy as they continue to judge the horse exactly as they do in every class. Judges B and D judge technique, and the score sheet for this looks like a hybrid between the compulsory and freestyle sheets at the other levels. This is a trickier, faster paced round to keep up with writing for. As you see, you have the 5 required technical moves, which are each given a score in these boxes, just like a compulsory move. At 3-star senior level, all 5 of these moves must be incorporated into the routine in this order. However, in the 2-star young class, this is a transitional class designed to introduce vaulters to this higher level, and therefore it can make writing a little bit trickier as these vaulters can pick any 3 of the moves and perform them in any order. So the judges will point to the move they are giving you a score for. And as these are incorporated into a freestyle routine, this box is also filled in using the same technique as previously discussed for other freestyles. Therefore, you will hear commentary from the judge such as D2, D3, then pointing to one of the moves such as stand backwards and saying 5.5, then continuing with R1, M2, etc. Any remarks given for the technical moves can be written here, and these boxes are completed as they are on the other freestyle sheets, with the sum of deductions being calculated by counting up all of the numbers, and the total number of elements calculated by counting up all of the letters. And the total deduction of falls is only required if there was a fall. In the technical test round, Judge C is once again the artistic judge, with a very similar looking score sheet to the freestyle round. Again, the writing on this sheet is information for the judge only, so don't panic. As previously, they will tell you which order they would like the spoken scores to be completed on the sheet, but this is usually filled in as the top row of boxes, T2, and then T3 once the performance has been completed. In all Cantor squad classes, the compulsory score sheets look very similar to the ones previously shown, but they must be completed for up to 6 vaulters. So as shown previously, you will see a list of the required compulsory moves for the level being performed, And as during the other compulsory rounds, the judge will give a score for each move, and this is to be written in a column for each vaulter. So you can see on this table, you have vaulter number 1, the first vaulter on the horse has their marks written in column 1 and onwards from there. Any remarks can be written here, and the score room can fill in the other sections for you once they've completed the calculations. The score sheets for squad freestyle rounds are the same as we've seen for all of the individual classes. It's just that the technique judges will be speaking more quickly and giving you a lot more to write down because there are more vaulters on the horse and the routine is longer. So looking at our individual walk and canter walk classes, so the levels 1 and 2, A and B. These take place with only 2 judges, Judge A, who is positioned opposite the entrance and is the judge you will bow to as usual, and Judge B positioned opposite them. These classes are slower paced, however with only 2 judges they each have 2 categories to judge at the same time. These classes are also usually run with both stages being performed at the same time. Therefore, all vaulters will run in, all complete their compulsory round, and then all go back on to complete their freestyle round before running out. For the compulsory round, both judges give a horse score and a score for each exercise. Any remarks given can be written here. For the freestyle round, Judge A gives a horse score and a technique score. This is completed as per all the other freestyle technique score sheets. At this level, most judges will speak out something like X2, X3, X4, etc., or E2, E3, E4, as the difficulty does not matter. As with all other freestyle technique score sheets, the sum of deductions is calculated by adding up all of the numbers, the total number of elements is calculated by adding up all of the letters, and the deductions for falls is only filled in if the vaulter has a fall. Judge B gives a technique score and an artistic score for the freestyle round. The technique score section is completed exactly as just described. The artistic score is usually given at the end once the performance is complete, and the judge will give a number for each box shown. Walk, squad and pairs is very similar but without a compulsory phase. Therefore, Judge A is just looking at the horse score and technique for the freestyle routine, and this sheet is filled in exactly as described previously. For the individual classes, and Judge B is looking at the technique and the artistic score exactly as described previously. Thank you for watching. If you have any more questions about writing, other help we require at competitions, or vaulting in general, you can email info@scottishequestrianvaulting.org, go to our website at www.scottishequestrianvaulting.org, or speak to your club's committee representative.